And the Congressman is here with me today now to talk to us on Politics Unplugged to discuss this announcement. Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. I was here just a few weeks ago on another show. So
absolutely, yeah. We talked about veterans issues then, still very close to your heart there. But you know, you've been in Congress for so long, 10 years,
10 years.
There in Congress, so a decade in Washington. Why now? Why now do you want to come back to Colorado and lead here?
Well, first of all, I come home every week. My wife is a school teacher in Jefferson County, and so home is here. And work is in Washington, and then lots of things to do here as well. But Washington's pretty stuck right now, and if it's not stuck, it's also going backwards on environmental protections, on workplace safety protections, on education, on health care. And I feel the state is a place that can act as a check and balance on some of these things. And I've lived here my whole life. I love this place. It's been good to my family as it has to so many others, and I want to keep it that way.
What needs to change then about Colorado? What you said you want to make some change in Colorado.
Well, I think two things. I think we're doing very well. There are some things that can be improved. Our roads, obviously, the growth that we've seen in the metropolitan area has put pressure on our schools, has put pressure on our housing, has put pressure on roads. So we can do better on those kinds of things. But generally, the state's been doing very well, and I want to keep it going that way.
Well, that's great to hear. I mean, what should voters outside of your 7th congressional district know about you? You represent Lakewood, Wheat Ridge, Arvada, that kind
Adams
of western
County.
Adams and Jefferson County there. You know, what do the rest of us take away from
I
that?
think what I'd like you to take away is that I've lived here my whole life. You know, public school kid, raised my family here, practiced law. And then I served in the state Senate for 8 years, where I became the pro tem, and then in Congress. So I have a lot of experience. I think I have a reputation for getting things done. And one of the things that I've done over the years is I've talked to thousands and thousands of people, whether it's at their doorstep, knocking on their door, or in my governments in the groceries, to be accessible, to listen to folks as to what's going on in their lives and what I might do to help them.
Well, you obviously have probably great name recognition going into this, being a congressman, being a longtime Colorado congressperson here, as well as a state Senate representative as well. The other candidates in this race, we're starting to kind of see that list form. One of them, as we mentioned, Kerry Kennedy, in some hot water this week for a Facebook announcement she made while she was driving. And you know, it was interesting, as I actually saw some people wondering, was that her intent? Did she want to go viral to some extent to get her name really out there and start this? Any thoughts on that?
I haven't seen it. Kerry's a friend of mine. We have very well qualified people in the Democratic field to date, and you know, whatever she was trying to do, you know, that's her deal. I'm going to stay in my lane. You know, a guy who just works really hard. I do a good job at getting things done. I listen to people, and I think I'm one who has a reputation of working with everybody, no matter what their political stripe. And so, you know, I hope that staying in my lane, you know, people will see that here's a guy that can lead this state.
Any thoughts on the other candidates? Do you think it'll be a tough race?
Oh yeah, no,
tough primary?
Yeah, of course they're good people and well qualified, and you know, the voters are going to have to make a decision. That's their responsibility in democracy, and part of what I think happened in this last election, a lot of folks stayed back, you know, didn't take responsibility for the ownership of the freedoms we enjoy, the equality we enjoy, the opportunities we enjoy. And so we're seeing a kind of a re-energized voter group out there. And folks will, you know, have some good choices to make.
Since you are still in Congress, for now at least, obviously we have had such an interesting week out of Washington. Do you think Congress should have had more input into the strikes in Syria, the bombing in Afghanistan this week?
The President needs to come to Congress to get more formal authorization. I think the strikes in Syria after the war crime that was committed by Assad in the release of chemical weapons, the sarin gas, I can appreciate the quick strike, but there's got to be policy that follows that up. And I don't think the President has that right now. The big bomb that was used in Afghanistan, that was, I think, a surprise to just about everybody. including al-Qaeda or whoever it was they were trying to get, because we've been pulling back from Afghanistan, trying to allow the Afghanis to, run their own country. So that one was a surprise. And then there's some things going on up in the region of North Korea. So the president is doing all sorts of things. I think that he needs to come to Congress and let us know what it is he's trying to accomplish here.
And let me just bring it back to locally here. Is there an attempt right now to kind of take things back from the state level? You sort of alluded to that, but do you feel like, things are kind of out of control in Washington and we have a lot to do here?
Yeah, I was saying Washington's stuck, or it's going backwards. So there's been this rollback on public lands, this rollback on environmental protections, on workplace safety protections, and I think the state can act as a check and balance as to what's going on. If we think in this state that things are going pretty well, then we ought to be able to say, you know what, we don't want to roll back those environmental protections. We don't want to sell off our public lands. The people in this state, we love our open spaces. We love our public lands. And we live in the greatest place, I think, in the universe, and we want to keep it that way.
Well, very interesting, and I'm sure a lot of these issues, both nationally and locally, will come up in the race for whoever will be the next governor of Colorado. Thank you, Congressman Perlmutter.
Nicole, thank you for having me again.
Talking with us. Good luck out there. Stay with us. We'll be right back.